their bright yellow plane, Spirit Airline, known for money-saving fares, is in need of some saving itself, and that help could be coming from President Trump. Reuters reports that an outside lawyer for Spirit noted in court they're in advanced discussions with the White House about bailing out Spirit to the tune of $500 million. The deal could give the government a large stake in that company. Joining me now, the founder of The Points Guy, Brian Kelly. With me here in studio, MSNow's Josh Einiger. So, Josh, this wouldn't be the first time, obviously, that the White House made an investment in the private sector, but why Spirit? Why? What's going on?
And this is an airline, a failing airline, that, as you'll hear from Brian Kelly in a bit, has a business model that really doesn't comport with reality in 2026. So here we are. They have almost no money in the bank. The deal, as CNBC is reporting, our partners at CNBC are reporting, is that it's a $500 million guarantee of financing that would help get them out of the hole that they're in, and that when they emerge from bankruptcy, the U.S. government would be able to own 90% of the business, which is quite something. And it is not really on anyone's bingo card about something that the Trump administration would want to do. Big name Republicans are coming out against it. We have a tweet we could show you from Ted Cruz. He's the chairman of the Senate Transportation Committee. This is an absolutely terrible idea, he says. The government doesn't know a damn thing about running a failed budget airline. And then, of course, he blames the Biden administration for killing it. A couple of years ago, JetBlue tried to take over Spirit, and the Biden Department of Justice convinced a judge to turn it down, to reject it, because they were concerned it would reduce competition, a legitimate concern. But now here we are. Spirit's business model really isn't allowing for this at all. The unions, on the other hand, obviously are pushing very hard for the White House to take this action. A little while ago, I spoke to the head of the AFA, which represents thousands of Spirit flight attendants.
Even if all they do is infuse this small amount of cash in terms of the federal government budget into Spirit, it is going to be a good investment for the American people, because the alternative is millions of people losing the ability to travel, tickets that they've already bought, and tens of thousands of workers going without work, going onto the unemployment lines, needing health care. It's only the working class that buys tickets on Spirit, by the way. So this is the American people, regular people, who are going to be hurt across the board if the White House doesn't do this.
But as Reuters is reporting now, in a bankruptcy hearing just this morning, an attorney told the court that there actually is an offer from the government that has been presented to creditors. This is a really complicated situation. It's a bankruptcy proceeding. So what happens next is really hard to know.
Okay, so Brian, I want to play for you one concern. We've already heard from a traveler about what could happen if Spirit does not get bailed out.
The other thing that they haven't answered is that those people that have already booked those fares and now they're going to have to cancel that flight, I would say to them, I hope they're going to honor that original price that you paid, because this is something that's happening outside of your control.
So, look, a lot of people freaking out. If you're booked on Spirit right now, what happens if they don't get this money?
Yeah, unfortunately, in the U.S., we don't have a passenger bill of rights. We don't have passenger rights. And instead of just looking at Spirit, I think as citizens, we need to push our lawmakers to build in more rights when things go wrong. Unfortunately, if you bought a Spirit ticket and they liquidate next week, you're stranded. You will likely be able to get a charge back if you file a complaint with your credit card company, and hopefully you used a credit card. But a lot of travel insurance does not cover liquidation, and those travel protections that come on many travel credit cards specifically say if the airline liquidates, you're out of luck. So, consumers really could be on the hook here. And of course, buying last minute tickets can be very expensive, though I do imagine the other airlines would come in and offer repatriation or rescue fares. But, consumers will be on the hook if Spirit does go under.
Yeah, and even if they do that, Brian, if Spirit shuts down at a time when airlines are already cutting flights because of the jet fuel shortage, et cetera, I mean, is it even clear that if all those folks really needed to get to where they had bought tickets for, that they could find seats to do it?
Yeah, it's going to be challenging, and I would not expect, the government is not a logistics company, as we saw with repatriating passengers in the Middle East after the war broke out. The U.S. do not rely on the U.S. government to get you where you need to go. This will be in every passenger for themselves. But I think this is a larger issue. Airfares going up. I do agree that the Biden administration should have let JetBlue and Spirit merge. That would have been good for consumers. But this is a Band-Aid on a gushing wound to try to bail out Spirit. I think there's larger questions that need to happen. JetBlue hasn't been profitable. They just did some financing to kind of survive for the rest of the year, but it looks like high jet fuel's here to stay. We need bigger solutions, and certainly we need to have a focus on getting jet fuel lower. And of course, that would mean ending the war in Iran, opening up the Strait of Hormuz. So those are the bigger issue things that we should be thinking about, and not, slapping a Band-Aid on a failing airline.
Josh Einiger, Brian Kelly, thank you.